Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane has disputed the testimony of suspended Deputy National Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya at the Madlanga Commission. Sibiya told the Commission that Mkhwebane had cleared him and the City of Johannesburg of wrongdoing over his appointment as head of Group Forensic Investigation Services. General Sibiya is facing scrutiny over corruption, political interference and alleged links to organized crime. But Mkhwebane's 2022 report posted on X lists irregularities and calls for further action, directly challenging Sibiya's testimony. Let's take a listen to what Mkhwebane had to say.
Giving the public the correct information, because even at the ad hoc committee, that letter was presented. Actually, he's the one who included that letter from the report from the public protector, and then that letter was also availed that already the report was issued with the wrong information because they didn't disclose the correct information to the public protector. So the intention is for the public to know the true facts of what transpired in the matter, because he failed the assessment was he was appointed in November 2016, and that in fact the position was never even approved by council and his appointment. So those are the issues which one is trying to say. If the City of Johannesburg were, in fact, followed proper procedure to appoint General Sibiya, or in fact they didn't appoint him because he failed the competency assessment, they increased his salary from 1.2 to 1.8, we wouldn't be finding ourselves in this position, even if he's arguing that the salary he's getting as subs is way less than what he got a City of Joburg. But I think the issue of the rank gave him an advantage over the others during the interview as subs. There was no pressure or any political interference. The investigations are conducted by the investigators. They were the ones who met with the City of Johannesburg. It means they then didn't cooperate or respect the office of the public protector, because doing that forms part of a criminal offense. And remember, we couldn't take it on review ourselves, because that, if then for one to continue investigating the matter with this new evidence, it meant that we needed to take it to court to review it so that we can it be set aside, and then we request the court to send the matter back to the public protector for further investigation. But that was never done. So there was no political pressure. It's just that it shows you that the Democratic Alliance then never respected or cooperated with the public protector.
That was South Africa's former public protector, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane.
Let's just do it.
Your life just got easier. Get the Channel Africa app and take us wherever you go. Catch the latest news, enjoy your favorite shows, stream the music you love, and stay connected to the continent. All in one spot, right in your pocket. Simple, quick, and always with you. The Channel Africa app. Download it now on iOS and Android.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Historia msikilizaji ya Valentine Day au siku ya wapendanao ilianzia katika nyakati za kale za dola la Roma. Watafiti wengi wa historia wanaamini kuwa siku hii inahusishwa na sherehe za kipagani zilizokuwa zikifanyika kila mwaka katikati ya mwezi Februari. Msikilizaji, sherehe hizo zilijulikana kama Lupercalia na zilifanyika kuadhimisha uzazi, upendo na mwanzo wa majira ya kuchipua.
zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
6 decades of rhythm, resonance, and relevance. We are Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It is 13 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. A fire swept through Al Omda displacement camp in North Darfur in Sudan, leaving at least 60 families without shelter. The cause of the fire remains unknown. Earlier reports from the International Organization for Migration indicated that at least 237 families were affected and over 150 shelters destroyed. And to speak to us further about this, we are joined on the line by SABC reporter Naba Mohidian. Naba, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you very much, Lulu. I'm happy to be with you.
Naba, what are the conditions like on the ground at Al Omoda camp following the fire? And is there clarity on how the blaze started, or are investigations still ongoing?
Actually, the International Organization for Migration, IOM, reported that around 50 shelters were completely destroyed and others are partly damaged. In this latest fire, affected families were moved from that location to open areas nearby because they lost their homes. Thousands of people live at that camp, Lulu, in very, very basic and poor conditions. So without even before the fire, so the overcrowded situation with limited protection from weather or danger is of course making the situation even worse. So this major blaze hit that displacement camp in Tawila area in North Darfur. Of course, is a risky for hundreds of thousands of families who fled the violence in Darfur. Uh, there is no formal comments regarding the investigation starting on this latest blaze that killed people and destroyed homes in Alomda. But of course, many local authorities and many organizations said they will investigate the reasons behind this fire. But Lulu, it's not the first time that this fire happens in different displacement camps. In the recent weeks, there is more than 12 reports about similar fire and blazes that destroyed houses and villages and displaced people. No clear cause has been confirmed yet, but humanitarian agencies, including the IOM, say that the cause of the latest fire is still undetermined and they will investigate further.
Naba, reports of the affected families or impacted families are differing. What are the exact figures? Do you know?
There is multiple figures, Lulu, are circulating in recent reports. The IOM says roughly 60 families lost their shelters in the latest blaze. In other statements to media, the IOM cited that an earlier fire at the same camp displaced more than 2,037 families and destroyed 1,058 shelters and damaged 79 more. Another fire the week before reportedly affected around 1,500 families and even caused the death of a child. So the numbers vary because there have been multiple fires at Al Umda in a short period. But we are awaiting for updates from local authorities and organizations. There is now conflicting news, but the confirmation says about 60 people died and hundreds of families, of course, displaced by the latest fire.
And what assistance is being provided to families who have lost their shelter? And does this fire reflect a broader neglect of camp infrastructure?
Actually, Lulu, humanitarian sources report that families displaced by the fire were relocated to to other open areas in the same locality, which is North Darfur. The only remaining places right now under the control of the Sudanese army and their allying groups. Other Darfur states and other localities are fully controlled by the RSF. So beside the fire, there is a risk of escalation of fighting in that area too. So various humanitarian organizations are actively working in the region because of the violence and because of the escalation, with assistance programs like communal kitchens previously set up at the camp to support thousands of families. However, full emergency assistance such as tents, food, water, healthcare, and rebuilding materials is extremely limited, Lulu, due to the ongoing conflict and restricted access, as Darfur is fully controlled by the RSF and there is escalation on a daily basis. So Sudan's humanitarian response is already stretched thin, Lulu, by years of conflict and mounting needs. Yes, there is some relief has been offered, but critical gaps remain as families struggle to rebuild and recover, Lulu.
And just speaking of, you mentioned violence earlier, and there have been reports of drone strikes killing dozens of people in Kordofan. What do you know of this?
Actually, Lulu, since the RSF has fully controlled that for region by October 2025, the escalation in western regions of Sudan, including Kordofan and Darfur, right now are controlling the scene, and it's the new battlefield. The front lines has shifted, Lulu, a lot, have shifted since the army regained control of the capital Khartoum and central Sudan in March 2025, expelling RSF from central Sudan and fully controlling north, east, and central parts of the country, while right now the RSF are controlling Darfur and Kordofan. Thus, Kordofan became the new battlefield because it's strategic locations that links western Sudan to central and other parts of Sudan. There is many drone attacks. There is recent reports saying that at least 2,000 people have been killed with drone attacks since the war began in April 2023, with at least 200 people got killed in last month alone. The escalation of using drone attacks is showing different strategy in using in warfare and in arms, but of course the goal is just to control new territories, and the war right now is terrifying people, forcing them to displace, and especially drone attacks that is targeting civilians and civilian infrastructure in their markets, hospitals, homes, not only targeting military camps or battlefield, but right now it's used as a weapon of forcing people in different places and attacking infrastructure, forcing a new war realities. Drone attacks, Lulu, is a real shift in the Sudanese war that is escalating since 2024, but in 2025 and 2026, it drew a new reality on the ground.
Well, Naba, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. We are going to leave it there for today. That's SABC reporter Naba Mohidian joining us on the line. It is 21 after 12 Central African Time.
Você é fluente em português? É apaixonado por rádio e quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para Canal África at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Amid growing anti-government protests, Gabon's government has suspended social media platforms, including Facebook and TikTok. The country's media regulator, the High Authority for Communication, announced the immediate suspension, citing concerns over national security and accusing online content of spreading hate speech, defamation, false information, cyberbullying, and material that could destabilize state institutions. To discuss this further, we are joined on the line by Jean-Donald Taladi, a Gabonese political activist. Jean, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon, Lulu, and
Now,
thank you for having me.
John, it's always a pleasure. Now, how significant is the government's decision to suspend platforms like Facebook and TikTok in the broader context of Gabon's democratic trajectory?
This is a very significant decision. Gabon is a constitutional democracy, and in that regard, curtailing alternative views or criticism of media activists, I think is a very bad decision. And I hope that the government will reverse this decision because it's not in line with the notion of democracy, which makes provision for alternative views, which makes provision for criticism of the government actions. And any decision that goes against that goes against the essence of democracy itself. So that's why I believe that the government should, reconsider this decision and allow people to criticize the government for its action and allow people to express their views. In a normal democracy, that is what must happen.
Now, Jean, do you view this move as a temporary security measure, or does it signal a deeper tightening of political control in the country?
It's difficult to say what the government intentions are. At this point in time, there are views which seem to suggest that the president was not aware of this decision. He didn't give the go-ahead for such a decision to be implemented. So if this is anything to go by, it seems to suggest to me that the government will definitely reverse this decision so that, people could be allowed to freely express their views on social media like they've been doing.
President Bruce Oligui Nguema came to power promising reform after the ousting of Ali Bongo Ondimba. Now, how is this crisis affecting his reform credentials?
Yeah, it contradicts actually that posture of President Oligui Nguema, who promised to make reforms, promised to take the country in a different direction. Now, when decisions of this nature are taken, it gives the impression that the agenda is different from what was promised. And I strongly believe that the president is considering the decision that have been taken to curtail social media platforms, but to reverse it because it contradicts, like I said earlier, the essence of democracy. It contradicts the message that he spelled out when he took over power. So all these must be reviewed timelessly, and so that the country can get back to normal again.
Now, is Gabon at risk, Jean, of sliding back toward authoritarian governance patterns?
I do not see that happening. Yes, there are miscalculations in terms of decision of this nature, but I don't foresee the possibility of Gabon becoming or sliding back into dictatorship. I don't see that as a possibility in Gabon at all. I think the people of Gabon don't feel threatened by anybody, not by the government, not by the armed forces of the country, not by the police. The people of Gabon feel very free. They've always been free, but decisions of this nature give the impression that the country may slide back into those old days where freedom was not a thing. But I don't foresee the possibility of that happening, of Gabon being going into a system of dictatorship. I don't see that as a possibility at all.
Now, what indicators should just observers watch in the coming weeks with regards to whether the situation will reach stability or deterioration?
I think what we need to watch out is how in the next coming days, how will the government respond to the decision that has been taken? Like I said earlier, there are views that seem to suggest that the president was not aware of the decision, and apparently he is very angry. If that is true, then I think in the coming days there will be a declaration by the government or maybe the body that regulates media communication in Gabon. They probably will make a declaration to say the decision has been reversed after consideration, after maybe engaging the president and anything like that. So I strongly believe that they will have to make a declaration of some sort to bring stability in the country with regard to social media
Our heads going to roll with regards to this decision, as it is alleged that the president was not aware, and now that he is aware, will people be held to account?
I didn't get the question.
Will people who made the decision with regards to, blocking social media and with a Facebook, social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, and others, will people or the decision makers be held to account?
Okay, look, I don't know. I don't know what the president will do about those people. If it is true that he is angry, because a decision of this nature is very significant. It's, like I said, in a constitutional democracy, I mean, we can't, suppress people's views and ideas. You don't do that. So now that they've made this decision, which already put the government into a certain light, a very bad light, and I can only be, I won't be surprised if I see international, community also responding to this, So I don't know what the president will do with those people. Remember, those that come in government, holding important, portfolios or the government department, are people who I will assume are very close to the president, So is he going to go after his own people? I don't know. It's anyone's guess, what's going to happen in the next few days or weeks.
Well, Jean, I guess it's a wait and see what happens, and we'll take it from there. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you so much, Lulu, for having me.
It's been a pleasure, Jean. That's Jean Donald Taladzi, a Gabonese political activist, joining us on the line. It is 29 after 12 Central African time. On hashtag Africa Update, ask Gabon's government suspending social media platforms amid growing anti-government protests. We want to know, do you believe the move is a temporary security measure, or does it signal a deeper tightening of political control? Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684. Hashtag Africa Update Us.
Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
It is 12:30 and our news headlines up next.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. A fire swept through the Al Omda displacement camp in Not Darfur in Sudan, leaving at least 60 families without shelter. What the cause of the fire is still unknown. Earlier reports from the International Organization for Migration indicated that over 230 families were affected and over 150 shelters destroyed. 4 people have been killed and several others injured when the bus they were traveling in lost control and overturned on the N1 north outside Louis-Trichardt in South Africa's Limpopo province. The bus was traveling from the Gauteng province to Zimbabwe. And a new study published in the medical journal in Lancet estimates that 75,000 people were killed in the first 15 months of Israel's offensive in Gaza. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Nzinzi.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports. On Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
And a very good afternoon from the sports desk. I am Mosibu Dimakura with the latest sports news at the Sawa. So World Football Governing Body FIFA President Gianni Infantino says all 104 matches of the 2026 World Cup will be sold out, despite tickets still being available ahead of the 11th of June kickoff. Infantino revealed that there were about 508 million tickets requests for just 7 million seats, with demand coming from over over 200 countries. He also added that FIFA had held back some tickets for last-minute sales that are starting in April. Now, the first 48-team World Cup hosted across America, Canada, as well as Mexico is expected to generate more than $11 billion in revenue and bring a $30 billion boost to the U.S. economy, creating around 185,000 full-time jobs. Well, back home now, South Africa's senior women's national football team, Banyana Banyana, kicked off their 2026 COSAFA Women's Championship campaign on a winning note at the old Peter Mokaba Stadium in Polokwane in South Africa's Limpopo province. So after a tight first half, the host broke the resistance of Malawi's Scorchers. In the second half, there was Sibulele Holweni who opened the scoring for Banyana Banyana on Wednesday before Bonolo Mokoma sealed a 2-0 victory in the 90th minute. Banyana head coach Desiree Ellis says perseverance was the key to yesterday's victory.
I think in the first half we struggled a bit to find each other. You must remember it's a new group of players that we're working with. So we're working on a few things and sometimes it doesn't come right. But I think the perseverance that they showed, the determination that they showed, they never really gave any opportunity. But we created a few. I think the first goal was crucial because it helped us to settle down. I think we also handled their long ball very well. They didn't really get behind us. But I must take my hat off to the players, started pre-season not so long ago to put up a performance like this and get the result in very, very hot weather that we're not used to. I think I have to commend the players and the coaching staff.
Athletics news now. Kenyan long-distance runner Faith Cherono has confirmed her participation in the Absa Run Your City Gqeberha 10-kilometer race in South Africa's Eastern Cape province, adding further star power to the opening leg of the popular road running series. So her entry comes shortly after the world number 1 ranked 10-kilometer race runner Brenda Chipchera was confirmed to also compete in the Eastern Cape province. Now, event organizer Stillwater Sports has once again assembled a world-class field, leaving no stone unturned in attracting some of the continent's elite athletes. The first of the 5 legs will be staged in Gqeberha, that's on the 1st of March, with 10,000 runners expected to line up for the streets in the friendly city in what is already a sold-out race. So with East Africa's finest set to dictate the pace, a sub-30-minute performance is anticipated in the women's contest in what promises to be a fast and highly competitive race. Tennis news now. The world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz maintained his perfect start to 2025 with a straight sets win over Valentin Roya at the Dubai Open, notching his 9th victory of the year. Alcaraz rallied from 5-2 down in the second set to seal a 6-2, 7-5 success and will face Russian Karen Khachanov in the quarterfinals, having won all 5 of their previous encounters. Meanwhile, the world number 2 Yannick Sinner eased past Alexei Popyrin of Australia 6-7 and 7-5, extending his streak to 50 straight wins against players ranked outside of the top 50. He will now meet Jakub Benensk in the last 8 for a place, of course, in the quarterfinals. Elsewhere, Stefanos Tsitsipas beat Daniil Medvedev of Russia to reach his first quarterfinal since April of last year, with Arthur Fils overcoming compatriot Quentin Hales in the quarterfinals and will be playing for a place in the semi-finals. The time is 12:35 a.m. Central African Time, p.m. should I say. That concludes your sports news this hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, do send us an email. That's to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Alternatively, call us. The newsroom line is +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Mosibu Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Your life, your rhythm, your Africa. Channel Africa. Find it for free on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. The sound of Africa is evolving. Experience our new mobile app. Free to download, free to connect. Business News on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon. Our top business story this hour. Africa's biggest economies, Nigeria and South Africa, are driving the strongest growth in demand for stablecoins and are the most optimistic about their potential, with many users also wanting them to become more widely accepted. This is according to a survey titled Stablecoin Utility Report. The report states that stablecoins are promising faster and cheaper ways to move money in poorer countries, but as 99% of them, including the dominant Tether and USDC, are pegged to the dollar, they also raise worries about economic dollarization and capital flight. The survey conducted by YouGov with crypto firms BVNK, Coinbase and Artemis took the views of more than 4,650 individuals from 15 countries who either hold or plan to hold stable coins or cryptocurrencies. The South African Farmers Development Association says it's determined to ensure that South Africa's sugar giant, Tonga Hewlett, is not shut down. This is despite business rescue practitioners filing for the company's provisional liquidation. This has put thousands of jobs at risk. An accounting fraud scandal rocked the more than 130-year-old company in 2019. Tonga Hewlett processes nearly 30% of the country's sugar, with a production in the KwaZulu-Natal province worth millions of dollars. The association's chairperson, Dr. Siyabonga Madlala.
We want to make a call for all farmers and employees of Tonga Hewlett to remain calm at these trying times, because the matter is being addressed at the highest echelons, and we are getting confirmation and confidence that the mills will open in the time when they have to open, and also farmers will be paid end of March for their monies. This comes after we've engaged the Vision Group, Ubaba Kumete, who has given us the same undertaking as the IDC, who also said their mandate is to save and rescue Tonga Hewlett.
Meanwhile, Madlala says shutting down the company would affect towns including Malmoth, Gingindlovu, Matigulu and Tongat.
In actual facts, if the Tonga Hewlett corridor was to close down, we see more than 5 towns that will be affected, because Tonga really, spends to more than 5 towns. It will even affect the CBD at some point, because the refinery of Tonga Hewlett is right at Merebank.
South Africa's Kumba iron ore has posted an 18% increase in annual profit. It comes on the back of higher mineral prices and increased sales volumes. Kumba, a unit of Anglo American, says its headline earnings per share increased to $2.86 in the year to December 2025 from $2.43 in the previous year. Oil prices have risen in Asian trade as the US and Iran attempted to ease a standoff in talks over Tehran's nuclear program, while both sides heightened military activity in the key oil-producing region. Brent futures climbed 24 US cents to $70.59 a barrel, while US West Texas Intermediate crude gained 28 cents to trade at $65.47 a barrel. Both benchmarks settled more than 4% higher on Wednesday, posting their highest settlements since the 30th of January as traders priced in potential supply disruptions and concerns of US-Iran conflict. And that oil price is currently at $71.29 a barrel this afternoon. Taking a look at the rest of the indicators, $1 US in Nigeria is trading at 1,341 naira. In Botswana, it's 13 pula and 3. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling and 2. And in Zambia, it's 18 kwacha 58. The BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 22. Russia, 76 rubles 50. India, 90 rupees 69. China, 6 yuan 90. And South Africa, $1 is trading at 16 rand 2 cents. This afternoon, it's unchanged from yesterday afternoon. $1 is trading at 73 pence to the British pound and 84 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $4,987 per ounce, platinum at $2,091 per ounce, and as mentioned earlier, Brent crude oil, $71.29 a barrel. And that's the business news. For any stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or give us a call on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Bontle Headbush.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. 6 decades strong, Channel Africa continues to inspire Africa and the world, proudly sharing
the African perspective.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 12:42 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. As South Africa approaches the February budget speech, the national conversation around fiscal policy, tariffs and industry pressures is intensifying. However, one critical issue risks being overlooked: the rising burden of preventable diseases such as diabetes, obesity and hypertension on both families and the healthcare system. And to discuss this, we are joined on the line by Dr. Darren Green, a medical doctor and a wellness advocate. Dr. Green, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you.
Now, as South Africa, we're approaching the budget speech. A lot of the focus is on economics, but from a medical perspective, how serious is the current rise in non-communicable diseases like diabetes, obesity and hypertension?
Well, it is quite alarming to note that diabetes is the second leading cause of death, with nearly 90,000 deaths that were attributed to diabetes in 2019. And research is just continuously showing that what we take in terms of sugary drinks, etc., and things like improving our diet and even losing just about 5 or 7% of our body weight can cut our risk of developing diabetes with up to 58%. So, for more than 50% of our population in sub-Saharan Africa and South Africa, people are walking around with diabetes and don't even know they've got it. So it is a risk. It's a silent killer until you know about it. And I'm afraid there's a lot that we can do to curb that increase in number.
And what, before we get to that, what message do you have for someone who is pre-diabetic?
Yeah, great question. So, just understanding there's a difference between type 1 diabetes and type 2. Type 1 diabetes is people, for example, that don't have insulin. In other words, they don't have the hormone that regulates blood sugar level. But type 2 diabetes, which is linked as a non-communicable disease, as a lifestyle choice disease, and it's brought about with the poor management of things like our weight, for example, and some of the other lifestyle choices we make. But understanding that pre-diabetics often think it's a death sentence when they get told, listen, you're pre-diabetic. But in fact, it isn't. What it is a warning and certainly an opportunity for you to make some adjustments in terms of the approach to your daily activities. And like I said, look at what you consume, look at your rate of movement and moving and activity, and then also looking at trying to regulate your body weight to curb developing full-blown diabetes, which is possible.
And in your experience, what is the burden of non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, hypertension and obesity on primary health care? And also just I want you to also touch on young children, obesity, diabetes. We're seeing more and more of those cases, and it is worrying.
We've got some of the highest rates of childhood obesity in sub-Saharan Africa in the world currently. And what we've noticed is that with children specifically, there's up to a 34% increase in insulin resistance, which is pre-diabetes essentially, by the time they reach late adolescence. So, that is an incredible factor that one can certainly take to heart. What we have is approximately, in South Africa, we look at 74% of deaths due to non-communicable diseases like diabetes, hypertension, and obesity is the figure that is recorded currently globally. But in South Africa specifically, we are spending about 2.7 billion a year on diabetes-related costs in our primary healthcare system and our public healthcare system. And that obviously is apart from looking at what we can do in terms of our education policies and programs, etc. So we've got a lot of work to do, given the dire strait that our youngsters are facing in adolescence.
Do you think there is enough communication with regards to these diseases, non-communicable diseases? Do you think enough is being done in sending the message across, not only for across the board, from young children to adults? And obesity is also a major challenge, and some people are quite sensitive to being told something about their weight. How do we handle it?
Yeah, so I mean, there's so much education to be done. If you look at children, for example, we've got a certain idea as to what a healthy child looks like. And in our mind's eye, we might want to see a child that's nice and chubby and healthy, making sure that they're not too skinny or thin, thinking that means that they are well. What we don't realize is obviously judging that on an external appearance and so forth, trying to guess what their body fat percentage is needs to be obviously more concrete, and it needs to be looked at in terms of the weight percentiles of the Road to Health chart that we use for children, for example. But the big thing with consuming so much sugar and diabetes, for example, is that it causes the health complications. People don't die of diabetes. They die of the complications of diabetes, and those complications are brought about by the increased weight gain, the liver pathology that occurs, the impaired blood vessel function to the different body systems, like the brain for strokes, heart attacks in terms of the coronary vessels, the kidneys, kidney disease, dialysis, for example, and kidney failure. And then, of course, the eyesight in terms of the eyes and the blood vessels in the eyes. But, the big thing is that we need to curb those complications by obviously looking at how we can prevent diabetes happening in the first place. And what we do know is that 1 in 4 cases is due to the overconsumption of sugary drinks, which is such a simple thing for us to start addressing the issue.
And how do you think an increase in the health promotion levy and decrease in consumption, will benefit the healthcare sector in South Africa?
Good question. And I think it's all about behavior modification. Should the health promotion levy on sugary drinks increase, what you'll find is that the consumption will decrease because of obviously the cost being a deterrent, and also people having to make choices as to what they choose in terms of good nutrition options, for example. That will then lead in less consumption of sugary drinks. That in turn will have an effect on obesity. Obesity has a direct effect on things like hypertension and other comorbid non-communicable diseases, and then with that the complications that I've mentioned in the cardiovascular system as well as the central nervous system in terms of things like stroke. So definitely a direct benefit could come from us increasing the health promotion levy on sugary drinks.
And why is this campaign so important to you, Dr. Green?
On a personal level, I think I became a medical doctor because, we look at the humanities. It's a profession that is a great honor when you put in a position to help someone navigate some of the challenges on their health and their bodies during life. But, I also was faced with so many people that just have to take hands and hands of medication to live any form of a decent quality of life. And I believe that the non-communicable diseases, associated with things like diabetes, being overweight, high blood pressure, and these conditions, they steal the quality of life. They steal you being a present parent, and me becoming a parent also changed my view on the world in terms of wanting to do something about it, and also dying too soon. So, in terms of preventing dying too soon and also being mindful of the type of quality of life that I want as I get older, I want to share that with the masses of this country and beyond, that you can have a decent quality of life as you get older. That includes great mobility, activities and fun for you to take part in your community and with your own family as long as you possibly can. And that means making some really, really good decisions early on in your life and applying them, and also, creating a community that supports that initiative.
Well, Dr. Green, thank you so much for your time on Africa Update, and all the best in this campaign. And hopefully it will yield a lot in terms of, just a turnaround with people listening, especially post-COVID. Things really change and people are more conscious and more healthy. I could be mistaken. That's Dr. Darren Green, a medical doctor and a wellness advocate, joining us on the line.
Africa Update on Channel Africa with Lulu Gaboo.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has informed UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres that South Africa will withdraw its troop contribution to MONUSCO, the UN peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, after nearly 27 years of involvement. Defense expert Dean Wingren, what are the main security implications of South Africa withdrawing troops from MONUSCO, and why now?
South Africa has been part of the MONUSCO mission since it was established in 1999, and is South Africa's longest-running peacekeeping and peace enforcement mission. So it's not something to be taken lightly when the President says that he's unilaterally withdrawing from the mission. Why now is the question. Well, the MONUSCO mission has always been intended to be terminated initially at the end of 2025, and then it was extended to the end of this year. So with the funding crisis within the UN generally, there's less funds for these peacekeeping missions, and hence the UN has had to cut back on the various contributing countries and equipment.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
Well, we say happy Thursday to Debukule Kuleni of the Upside team. How are you today and what's coming up?
Fantastic, Lulu. Thank you so much. Here's what's coming up on the Upside this afternoon. We talk all things art on this fine Thursday because there's an exhibition on art, or an art fair that will be taking place in Cape Town this year. It's titled "The Planet is Screaming. Listen to Mother Nature," with Pierre-Louise Geldenays. And it's a call to pay attention to our surroundings, Mother Nature, recycling, taking care of nature. We go to certain spaces. Yesterday I was driving around Johannesburg and you're like, oh my goodness me, how can people live in conditions like this? And, there are certain things that they can't do themselves, but I'm sure there's something that we can do. Certain responsibilities we leave it to municipality and government and so on and so forth. But around your area, you can pick up some litter and throw it in the dustbin, but taking care of Mother Nature, and we're using art to convey that point. And then we talk about the upcoming Buy Local Summit and Expo, just focusing on localized procurement and just driving that focus on support local businesses, go to the restaurants, buy from the designers from the African continent, stop importing from overseas. Let's support local. That's all coming up on the Upside.
That's the Upside coming up at the top of the hour with Debukule Kuleni and Matseko Musito. Well, we continue on Africa Update.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
The special representative of the Secretary General for Libya, Hannah Siwa Atete, says the situation in Libya is deteriorating on many fronts, including its economic conditions and judicial system. The country has been experiencing political instability, humanitarian crises, and violence, with multiple factions vying for control of the country since the 2011 civil war. Tutongo Beni has more.
The conflict in Libya that has been ongoing since a civil war erupted in 2011 has resulted in severe humanitarian consequences, with thousands displaced and many facing food insecurity. The United Nations estimates that approximately 300,000 people were in need of humanitarian assistance in 2023, a significant decrease from previous years, but challenges remain due to the precarious economic situation and ongoing violence. violence. Now, the special representative of the Secretary General for Libya, Hannah Sewa Teta, told the Security Council that the situation in the country is deteriorating on many fronts, including its economic conditions and judicial system, highlighting the need to work with Libyans in the implementation of its political roadmap.
The situation in Libya is deteriorating on many fronts. Libya's judicial system, which has historically remained largely unified despite prolonged political challenges, with the Supreme Court in Tripoli, including its constitutional chamber, serving as the highest constitutional judicial body, is now increasingly divided with serious implications for the country's unity. In 2023, the House of Representatives established the Supreme Constitutional Court in Benghazi, which became functional in December 2025, operating in parallel to the previously established Constitutional Chamber of the Supreme Court in Tripoli. There are now competing mandates, conflicting court rulings, and judicial incoherencies.
Sarah Teta says if nothing is done, the current developments can undermine the unity of the state.
If actions are not taken to preserve the unity, coherence, and independence of the judiciary, the conflicting legal systems that emerge will impact the economy, elections, governance, security, and human rights. It is a red line that, if crossed, can undermine the unity of the state.
She further says the economy is suffering as Libyans face hardships, with the local currency under pressure due to declining oil revenues.
Libya's economic trajectory is also in a downturn, and the Libyan people are facing significant hardships, with devaluation of the currency, increasing prices, fuel shortages, and growing discontent. This was recognized by the Prime Minister in his address yesterday. The absence of a unified national budget and uncoordinated public spending due to parallel state institutions, along with declining oil revenues, have contributed to persistent foreign currency imbalances. This is causing mounting pressure on foreign reserves and the steady decline in the value of the Libyan dinar.
Sarah Teta says there's an urgent need to address the current dysfunctional divided government.
Economic conditions are deteriorating, and poverty and pressure on society is increasing. This situation, in addition to the fragile security landscape, should be a matter for concern, as such conditions can lead to unexpected political and security challenges. Hence, the need to work with Libyans through the roadmap to address the main cause of this dysfunction, which is a divided government with limited coordination, unilateral actions, including significant uncoordinated and uncontrolled spending.
And that report by Tuto Ngobeni. And that's a wrap of Africa Update today. It's been a good one. Let's do this again tomorrow. Thank you for joining us, and continue with us on all our social media platforms. Bye-bye.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802.
1 p.m. Central African Time. A big thank you to Lulu Gaboo and team. Join them again tomorrow, same time.